Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. I have another channel on which I speak about astrology and a Facebook page on which I wrote prophetic writings. I invite you to read the prophetic writings, and the usual caveat, there are individuals who impersonate me. They're using my identity in order to steal from me, to harm me, to damage my reputation, but also in order to use my image and harm others. So I invite you to be discerning. Please don't engage with people in my comment section, as many of them are exactly these people. Now, moving on, the topic for the video today, this video actually, because I already made a few today. God has guided me to speak about something which I learned to do I learned to do this in my spiritual journey. I recommend to everyone to do spiritual journey. Usually, you don't get to do it when you want to. God will guide you when you should do the spiritual journey, and that usually is a time when it's impossible for you to stay put. So basically, the attacks become usually it comes towards the end of the generational curse, karmic cycles, when actually they literally want to kill you. They just figure they cannot break you, so then they will try to kill you. And when this happens, there is a specific time when you need to gain authority over a number of forces which they use in order to attack you. And God will guide you to go through that spiritual fighting, which seems endless in my experience. And one day you will get the divine guidance to leave, basically, simply because it's just too dangerous for you to stay. That is my experience. This is how I left on my spiritual journey, which lasted a year, and I was in 12 countries. I traveled through 12 countries. And I traveled, it is a spiritual journey, so I traveled in order to do more bondage breaking. I explained in another video, God has guided me. They literally went nuts. They just worked too much harm towards you, and it's too dangerous for you to stay. So we will take you on a spiritual journey in order to continue the bondage breaking. But as you change the astral space, you break bondage against similar or same embodiments in a different astral space. I explained in other videos that there are multiple copies of the same individuals in different countries, and they're exactly the same bondages done on everyone. So you can stay put and continue your spiritual fighting for a bondage breaking on a specific type of bondage and individual who's attacking you, or you can travel to a specific country which God will show you, where you will find exactly the same embodiment but in a different human. And I explained this in my spiritual journey. I broke bondage, many bondages against family members, like my adoptive father, my adoptive mother, and they're totally different individuals from an entirely different continent, yeah. But they carried the same embodiment, yeah. So actually, and I will say this, actually, when I met those individuals, they knew. I mean, we recognized each other. We recognized in each other the same type of bondage. Like the mother figure recognized in me exactly same bondage as her daughter, biological daughter, was living, and also the father figure as well. And I recognized in them my adoptive mother and my adoptive father figures, and same bondage is the same exact, even using the same wording, the same everything. I'm telling you, even in another countries, I broke bondage with another individual which was carrying embodiment of my ex-husband and so on. So you continue your spiritual fighting. It is a spiritual journey. You encounter other individuals who are carrying the same embodiment which you are supposed to fight against to break the bondage. It's just a different human being uh, whom you've never seen before, but is carrying exactly the same embodiment. Yeah, it's very interesting. It really is, and uh, doing spiritual fighting during your spiritual journey, it gains you a lot of beneficity in astral, which means that you receive more gifts, you encounter different situations, and you learn different abilities, and so on. It is really interesting. It is also very dangerous because it's one thing to be in your own home, and it's another thing to be on travel. Like I did my spiritual journey, of course, together with Lucky. I wouldn't have left him behind. And of course, many things became very complicated for me, including finding a place to stay at. It just so happened that during my spiritual journey, also the COVID started. So when that started, it was really, really tough to find a place to stay, as most hotels were closed. In marine circumstances, we ran out of money. It was a full year of travel, so you can imagine that I resigned from my previous job 1 year before I left on spiritual journey. So I was 1 year without income, and then I started the spiritual journey, which also requires you to have money, of course, to travel. So it was not easy. I tell you that much. And I encountered really complicated situations. But somehow always God helped me get through it. Yeah. So I moved in 12 countries during my spiritual journey, and I learned a lot of things. I have seen God making a lot of miracles. It's totally different type of spiritual fighting, uh, simply because you're not in your environment, and so also God becomes more creative in finding different ways for you to deal with the situation, but also you encounter different situations. Yeah. Now there are a lot of things which I started, how to say this, I started not managing, but getting a grip on those abilities much better during my spiritual journey than when I was in my own home. Also because when you're in your own home, and particularly if you reach the end of the generational curse karmic cycles, attacks become very strong, and you stay put in one place. So it's much harder to cleanse energy when you stay put and you're surrounded by individuals who attack you. Yeah. But when you're on a journey, then you change astral spaces, you change regions, you change. So because of this, for example, when you leave from one country to another, you change the astral space. Many of the attacks disappear because astral spaces are managed by governments, and if they don't have a deal or a partnership with that country, then they cannot extend the effect of their bondage creation on you. Many of the bondage creations are literally limited to one astral space. So once you move into another astral space, then all of those effects of those disappear. But when I say disappear, I mean like in 1 hour after you cross the border. It is that amazing. It's unbelievable. So you encounter an attack when you are in your own house, which is very difficult for you to counter. Even if you counter it like in a few minutes, it's right back recreated. And because it's on contractual base, they make these contracts on you, so they are automatically recreated. And I've seen that, instantly. after I crossed the border in another country, like in 1 hour, the effect of that attack completely disappeared by itself. So I didn't need to fight it anymore. Now, of course, they will try to recreate it one way or another. They will try to make partnerships. They will try to create different type of attacks of witchcraft and other things which will follow you, and will try to do a lot of body jumping. So they will try to attack you through people that you meet, which it becomes very dangerous, because if you're on the road traveling, and for example, I'm traveling by train, sometimes by bus, but not all buses will accept lucky, or by plane, but sometimes I couldn't get the plane because they wouldn't accept lucky. They will do body jumping, and you will encounter the same attack through all the people that you meet, and it's a little bit more complicated because you're out of your home, and all these individuals, they never met you, so they don't know you. If a levitation is done on them to think that you're a thief or I don't know, a murderer or something, a criminal or something, they might believe it. So it's sometimes it becomes dangerous, but it's also a unique experience, and you will learn a lot of things which you will not be able to learn sitting in one place. That much I will tell you. Now, God has guided me to share with you from all the miracles I have been experiencing in my spiritual journey. There are a couple of things which I learned about them when I was doing spiritual fighting before leaving my home. But some of them I couldn't manage them properly, or I would, but only temporarily. Yeah. And some of them, literally, I just learned about them in my spiritual journey. And I will speak fast because I have only a little bit battery. And God has guided me to speak in this video about one particular thing which I learned and managed in my own spiritual journey. And that is, how to do this? Muting darkness or attachments, stuff like darkness in general, from other people, from me. Yeah. This in cases where body jumping is done. So, for example, as I was traveling, God will show me and will tell me to exercise this. You need to transmute and do exorcism on the individuals I was encountering, because they are sending darkness to do body jumping, and everyone who comes your way will attack you in a specific type of way. And God will show you usually what is the type of body jumping, what type of attachment, what type of force that was sent upon that individual. And that is very easy. If, for example, God should show me, I was mesmerized initially, and I said, how can they do this? And God showed me only if they do. For example, I'll give you an example. If they do come to me spells with a specific type of attacks on you, then everyone who comes your way will perform that type of attack. Dark force will be attached to them only by encountering you, and will use their body in order to do a specific type of attack on you. It can be aggression, physical aggression, like physically beating you up, or it can be sexual aggression of rape, or it can be stealing from you. And if you're traveling, then it's even worse. And it actually happened to me, like in Germany, they stole my phone and my laptop and my other stuff. Yeah. So that's the only time in my entire life when somebody stole something from me, because I'm usually very, very careful with my stuff. So basically this is dangerous. So God said, because they are doing this to you, you need to learn how to do this. How do you do transmutation and exorcism in others? Yeah, because you know how to do it on yourself, but now you have to learn how to do it on others. And basically, energetically speaking, it's much focused on mystic prayer meditation. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I think I made a video about exorcism. I'm not sure, but you lot the mystic prayer meditation in order. So it's work between you and the divine and God. So you literally do the mystic prayer meditation, but when you send the energy upwards to God, you send it through that individual. Yeah, so the mystic prayer meditation says, yeah, that you lower the energy from the mind level to the heart level, and from the heart level then you push the energy towards God, upwards. Yeah, so you don't push the energy upwards straight as you stay straight upwards, like a perpendicular thing, but you push it from your heart chakra towards God. Yeah, so it's more like a volleyball that you push towards God. Yeah, so it's from your chest on diagonal, let's say. Okay. That's the mystic prayer meditation, which you do with yourself. But if you do this and you send from other, as you stay face to face with another, you do the exact same exercise. Just when you push the energy towards God, that energy goes through the individual in front of you, and basically transmutes darkness from you and from that individual towards God. Yeah. Now, God will help you to do this, of course. Sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes it's very hard, particularly when you're traveling. I remember that one time I was very tired. I couldn't find a place to stay with Lucky. It was already getting dark outside. And literally, we were thinking where to stay. And I was trying to get to a place where there will be some security. So I think we went to a bus station because I figured even if it's night, there is some security there, so I wouldn't be alone on the street at night and so on. As I didn't speak the language of the country as well, but basically I encountered an individual who wouldn't let me pass through to the bus station, and it was really really hard for me to do a transmutation then, and I literally felt God, putting His hand on the back, on my back, at the heart chakra, and God said, I'm helping you now. Just push the energy, just push the energy upwards. So I did this and I succeeded to do a transmutation through that individual, and instantly that individual changed, because it was just a darkness. It was just a blockage created through a certain ritualic practice of curse. So everybody that meets me will block me and I won't be able to achieve whatever I try to achieve. So this is something that I learned in my spiritual journey. Also, because before that, I was in my house. I had nobody to exercise with, of course. So it was during the spiritual journey that God has shown me to do this. But this is the basic work which you do. God has shown later on to me that evening, as I got to the bus station and I got a coffee and something to eat. God has shown to me that because I have done the transmutation, energetically speaking, you are allowed to do that. So the dark force which is sent onto that individual to harm you, you are allowed to do that. God is showing me to specify this. You are not allowed to do this. You don't have authority. First of all, you have to gain authority in front of that force. This is why God will tell you when to leave your house, because God will not allow you to start a spiritual journey if you didn't gain authority against specific forces which are coming after you. Yeah, once you gain authority over that force, as long as they send that dark force onto others to do harm on you, you are allowed to fight according to astral rule, to fight that force, even if that force is into a foreigner, into an individual whom you've never met. Now, on the flip side, you are not allowed, and you won't have that same power to fight against a dark force which is possessing that individual, irrespective of you, with no connection to you, which is part of his own spiritual fighting and his own karma. It's different. But if a force is being sent to him only because he met you in order to harm you, that is part of your spiritual journey, not his. And you are allowed, according to astral rules, to fight that force. Yeah. So make a distinction. You're not going to start fighting darkness in everyone now like this warrior. No, you're just fighting what you are allowed to, and something which is being sent specifically for you, to block you. And God will show you who's who and what's what. But the point is, God has shown to me, because you have done that successfully. God is always trying to encourage all of us as we go through all this craziness. So God said, it's okay, now you've done well, because you have done this and you have done it successfully. Look, now I'm able to do an embodiment in that individual. So what actually happens, and I've seen this, oh my God, you see, because they don't have battery. Now, I'll have to do this in dark as well. So God has shown to me, now, because you have done this successfully, I am able to do embodiment onto this individual. And literally what happens, after I have done this transmutation from that individual, God himself will embody that individual in order to help me. You see, so it's really spectacular experience to see and to actually go through. And this is actually, God has shown to me that this is basically how 5D should work. A human which reaches 5D is able to carry embodiment of God. So God is able not only to help you, but to work through you, not only by giving you guidance, but energetically overlapping with your body, your energy body. So literally, you are able to embody God. It doesn't have to be for a long time. It usually is for a short time, for a certain purpose, and so on. And it's not your choice to do that. It is God's choice when God wants to work through you. But God has shown to me, because you're on a spiritual journey, and because you're working with us, and you have put up with so much spiritual fighting, and you are fighting for your own lineage, not just for yourself. This is a dispense, and God is deciding when to help you like this, which is very spectacular to see, I must confess. Is absolutely amazing. It takes then hours and days to recover for this from this miracle, but this is a way in which God actually steps into a human body for a brief, very brief moment, just in order to help you achieve something. For me, that evening was about getting into safety with Lucky, because we were on the streets. All stores were closed. We were hungry. We didn't eat in a long time at that point. And it was very dangerous. I had luggage. It was not a reasonable area of the city where we were. So it was important that we get into safety. So basically, God did this in that circumstance in order to help me reach to a safe place, and to stay overnight until morning, when would have been, you know, a little bit more decent to be outdoors and so on. Yeah, so this is something that God asked me to share now. This is just one example of things that I have learned in my spiritual journey. It is really unique experience. It's a totally different type of travel. It's not the usual travel like going on vacation. You do spiritual fighting 24 hours a day, but also because a spiritual journey is a unique part of your assignment in 3D. You will have a much closer connection to God and your divine realm team. And they will teach you things which they cannot teach you normally. And they also, you see, instant attack on my throat chakra. They will also make miracles for you, spectacular, which normally they wouldn't be able to do. Because it's a basically you literally have a specific status when you're on spiritual journey. It's literally totally different type of spiritual fighting. And I'll give you just one more example. The previous example God asked me to give to you, but I will also give you one more example. I have many examples like this, but one that is very dear to me is that I was in Chile at some point, and I was exhausted. It was very tough bondage breaking in Chile. It was a long time, and I ran out of money completely, and I wanted to leave the country, but now I couldn't because I didn't have the money. So it was really tough experience there. And then it was already some time since I didn't receive money. I was asking, I remember I was trying to get money. I couldn't receive any. And basically, it was a very serious matter. I needed food for me, for Lucky. I had a place to stay, not a very pleasant one. I explained a place where I was supposed to break bondage with some women and an individual. And I asked God, I said, you know, excuse me, but we're hungry. We're literally hungry. It's been some time and I need food. Lucky needs food. What do we do? I don't have enough money. I only had some change left. Um, um, and I said, what to do with this money? And because there was not enough to get even a sandwich, so it was not much. And God said, I will show you something. And we were outdoors, and late in the evening he said, God gave me guidance where to go. It was basically a public market, and a very young artist was playing a song in that public market, you know. And nobody was listening to her. Nobody was. She was trying to raise money, and nobody was listening to her, you know. And God said, just sit down and listen. So I listened to her. Of course, I was the only one. Everyone was busy. I was the only one listening because I had nowhere to go anyway. And at some point, I asked God, can I give her the change I have? And God said, yes, you can give her the change you have, and watch carefully what happens. So I went, I gave her the change, you know, and I swear to you, after I gave her the change, the very second I gave her the change and I smiled at her, I said something complimentary. I congratulated her. I said a few words. And then I went back and I sat down on the bench again. And God said, sit here and watch now. And from the second I gave her the change that I had, which was not much, of course, people were pouring in. Not not so many that were actually listening, but also that were giving her a lot of money, you know. And God has shown to me, see, this is the abundance you gave her, you drew for her, because basically I said a small prayer before I gave her the money, because I said I just pray for her that she will receive the money for whatever she wants to do. I said a small prayer before I gave her the money. So God said, see, this is the abundance you drew for her with your prayer. Because I guess I said in previous videos, or I'm not sure, I have the gift of prayer. So it was very, very beautiful way of seeing how that was manifested, you know. And literally, by doing that, what God actually wanted to achieve was a healing, because I gave her the money and I said a prayer for her. Also, there was a healing for me in it. So I instantly felt energy healing during that moment. Yeah. So there are beautiful ways. Basically, during the spiritual journey, aside from the spiritual fighting, God has shown me a lot of things which are specific to 5D. So every time he would show me things, and he would say, you see, this is how 5D should be. This is how life should be on earth if these bondages wouldn't exist, and so on and so forth. So that's when he actually told me most of about how he wants 5D to look and how he wants us to build 5D. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here now because I don't have even light, and it's already 31 minutes. But the message that God asked me to put forward is specifically about the spiritual journey and about this one about transmutation. This, please keep in mind, this is very important way of working with light and with God in order to receive help from others, or if God asks you to help them, or if darkness is coming to you through others, through third parties. So not through the individual who's attacking you, but through random individuals who you meet, which is a very usual attack for them. So this is the way to get through it, and to get out of danger, but also sometimes to get help from individuals. If you ask somebody to help you and they have done a bondage that everybody rejects you, nobody wants to help you, everybody starts fights with you, conflict magic, stuff like this, then this is the way to actually solve it. The transmutation of darkness from others. Yeah, this is the way you actually cast that off. You cannot cast that off in a normal spiritual fighting, because sometimes, usually by the time you understand what is done, you already are face to face with somebody else. So you have to transmute the darkness from that individual. Yeah. So the spiritual journey and transmutation from others, this is actually the focus of this video, and this is what God wanted me to convey. Okay.